Hello, this is Amanda for Lavinia World, and today we're going to be using some of the new fairy cuts that coordinate with the Lavinia stamps. But first, as always, I'm going to make my background for my card. So I'm using one of the Fairy Hugs stencils. This is the Woods stencil, and I'm going to be using some Distress Oxides. We're going to start off with one of the new colors for this year, Speckled Egg. And I'm just going to ink blend that on the bottom of my stencil. And I did cut some post-it note tape to mask off the bottom of my stencil to kind of create some snowy hills. So we're just going to ink blend that. Oh, and I do use pixie spray on the back of all my stencils, but I did that off screen, obviously. All right, now we're going to move on to some peacock feathers. We're just going to ink blend that towards the middle of my card front. And then I'm just going to bring that down to the speckled egg, and now I'm using the speckled egg brush, and just what's left on the brush I'm going to blend the peacock feathers and the speckled egg together. Now moving on to chipped sapphire, I'm just going to finish off the card panel with chipped sapphire towards the top. I'm just going to bring that down into the peacock feathers. And then I will grab the peacock feathers and blend that up into the chipped sapphire to create a smooth blend. And once I get that blended, then we will remove the Woods stencil carefully. Oh, I lie. I'm going to spray some water onto my panel first. I wanted to leave the stencil on there just in case my colors bled. I wanted to keep that area white for now. And once I removed the stencil, I decided I really didn't want those trees white, so I'm coming in with the Distress ink, not the oxide, and I'm going to blend over my Distress Oxides. At this point, I have dried my panel. I did that off screen. I heat set it. And I'm just going to come in with the ink because the inks are transparent where the oxides are opaque. So I'm going to blend over the oxides with the Distress ink and Hickory Smoke. And I'm just going to give some color to my trees, just a little bit of this gray color to my trees. Now, because they're transparent, that does not mean that they're not going to color my oxides a little bit. So as you can see, that is giving a little bit of a dusty gray color, especially to that speckled egg, because it is a lighter color in the Distress Oxide line. But that's okay, because I will just place my stencil back over and go over the Distress Oxides again, just a little bit. Once I'm done getting the Hickory Smoke on my panel to my satisfaction. So we're just going to add a little bit. I wanted it darker towards the bottom and a little bit lighter towards the top. So I'm just going to keep blending until I'm satisfied with the colors here. So I think I'll be done in just a second. There we go. So now I'm just going to place that stencil right back over the top here, lining it up. And there is still a little bit of stick to the back of my stencil, but not much because I did wash the stencil just to get the inks off because I thought I was done at this point, but I wasn't. And then I'm just going to come right back in with those same colors and just blend right back over the top. Just kind of brighten them back up. So coming in with the speckled egg. And then I'm just going to come in with the peacock feathers real quick. And again, it's not going to take a ton of blending. I did leave a little bit of the gray over the speckled egg. I just wanted to brighten them up a little bit. I wasn't too concerned with it, but I just wanted to brighten them up just a tad. All right, so now I removed that bottom mask, and I did keep the top. When I cut the post-it note tape, I kept both sides. So now I removed the bottom, and I kept the top. And you just want just a hair of your ink blended portion showing. And I'm coming in with the Distress ink again, not the oxide, the ink in Tumbled Glass. And the reason why I chose the ink is because I find that the inks are a little bit brighter than the oxides. So I wanted my snowy hill a little snowy hill here to glow a little bit. You're more than welcome to use the oxides if that's what you prefer, but I wanted to use the inks because I wanted it to be brighter. So I'm just going to remove that mask, and as you can see now I have a snowy hill, and I feel that it kind of gives a little bit of a glow because I use that tumbled glass. So here's a look at my finished background. And now we're going to move on to stamping. Oh, I lie. I forgot I used the Galaxy background stencil here from Fairy Hugs and some Gina K Designs Glitz Glitter Gel in the white. And I'm going to add some stars to my background real quick. So just got to mix that up. And I do keep saran wrap over all of my glitter gels, my mousses, any pastes, texture pastes, anything like that. I do keep some saran wrap under the lid just to keep them nice and fresh, I guess. This way they don't dry out. So I'm just going to smooth that through my stencil. Again, I do have pixie spray on the back of this stencil. That way it doesn't lift in any spots and I don't get any wonky areas, any part where it seeped under the stencil. I'm just going to put the excess back in the jar, and then we will close this up. And I do recommend that you clean your stencils right away after using glitter pastes, especially because they dry super quick and it is really hard to get it off the stencil if you do not. I'm just going to remove that, and then off screen I do clean my stencil and clean up my work surface. Alright, so we are going to stamp out the Shanty and the 3 Dancing Fairies from Lavinia Stamps. And I did choose to stamp the 3 Dancing Fairies in the VersaFine Claire Nocturne, and then I'm going to stamp the Shanty in the Gina K Designs Amalgam Ink because I will be Copic coloring my Shanty off screen. And then Gina K Amalgam Ink is Copic safe, where the VersaFine Claire is not. But I find that the VersaFine Claire really stamps those silhouette stamps very nicely. So I'm just going to stamp that out. And I did make a mistake here by taking a second to wipe off the edges of my 3 Dancing Fairies because I kind of overstamped them. And that allowed the Gina K Designs Amalgam Ink to dry a little bit on my stamp there on the Shanty. So that's why I got such a terrible stamped image there, because that ink dries fairly quickly. So we're just going to have to stamp it again, and I did have to stamp these a couple times, but I'm cutting this out here. We're just going to fast forward to the perfectly stamped images here. So like I said, I did color that off screen, and now we are going to use those Fairy Cuts dies that I talked about in the beginning. So I'm just going to show you how I line these up, and then I will go to my die cutting machine off screen. It's kind of big to be putting into the camera, and it's quite heavy for me to lift because I have problems with my arms. So I'm just going to show you how I line these up, and I'm using some Easy C tape to tape these down. And then, like I said, I will go cut these off screen and show you how they look. So these are new to the Lavinia World store, and they are exclusive to the Lavinia World store. So these are not made by Lavinia Stamps, but they are licensed through Lavinia Stamps. So Fairy Hugs and Lavinia World store, they do have permission to make these dies, but they are exclusive to Lavinia World, so you cannot get them anywhere else. But they aren't knockoffs or anything like that. They are licensed through Lavinia Stamps. They do have permission to make these, just if you were curious about all that. So as you can see, these cut beautifully. They're a very nice addition to your Lavinia stamps, and I think they're great. So I have, if you've watched my videos before, you do know that I have cut these with my scanning cut before, but these cut, because of the intricate nature of Lavinia stamps, these cut very nicely. So as you can see that popped up on the screen, I did also use these dies to cut some craft foam so that I could pop these up. These little teeny tiny fairies can be quite difficult to cut little teeny tiny pieces of foam tape. So I thought that I would show you that one of the benefits of having the coordinating die to your stamp set is that you can cut pieces of craft foam to perfectly match your stamped image. And so that's what I did here is I cut 2 pieces of craft foam to match 2 of those fairies and 1 to match my shanty, and that's how we're going to be using some of these pieces today. I'm going to pop up that shanty and 2 of the fairies. One of the fairies is going to be directly glued down to the bottom right hand corner of the shanty, as you will see when we get further along in the card design here. So I did use Distress Collage Medium that is decanted into a Nuvo bottle because those bottles seem to be easier on my hands for whatever reason. I like the shape. I don't know. They're easier on my hands anyway. So we're just going to glue the background to my card base. I did cut it to be a 1/4 inch smaller than my card base. And then we're just going to glue the kneeling fairy down to the shanty. And then we're going to glue the shanty down to my card base. And I grabbed the wrong glue. I, for whatever reason, have not had good luck with the Nuvo adhesive when gluing craft foam. So I do like to, like I said, use the collage medium, and then I just set something heavy on it while it dries, and it seems to work quite well for me. So I'm just going to glue my shanty there down on my snowy hill. And then we're going to set something heavy on it while I put glue on the other 2 fairies. And glue them down to my card base as well. I'm going to glue 1 on each side up the top there. And then we're going to move on to the sentiment while this dries. Alright, so then I use the Fairy Merry Christmas sentiment from Lavinia Stamps. And we're going to stamp that out in the Versifying Claire Nocturne. And then I'm going to grab the Essential Slanted Sentiment Strip die from MFT, and I'm going to use that to cut out my sentiment strip. And then I'm going to glue that down to my shanty, and I'm going to use a little piece of that leftover craft foam that I cut the fairies and the shanty out of. I'm just going to stick that right on the very edge there where my sentiment strip's going to hang over a little bit. And this is going to make it level with my shanty. And that's pretty much going to finish up the card for today. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you will check out the Fairy Cuts dies. They're a perfect addition to your Lavinia stamps. They're not available for all the stamps, but there's quite a few of them available, so I hope that you will check it out. All the supplies listed for the project today will be listed in the description box below, and any of the supplies that are available in the Lavinia World store will be linked for your convenience. The Anything Lavinia World Facebook group is also linked in the description box below. I hope that you will check it out and share your projects with us. And my social media links are also listed in the description box below. As always, have a great day.